My name is George, and until last year, I was a quiet tech guy nobody noticed. I fixed passwords, cleaned up servers, and kept our company system running when everything else fell apart. I didn't talk much, but I observed everything, every lie, every whisper, every unfair thing that happened around me. My boss, Mr. Adrian, loved power more than he loved the company. He walked around like he owned the building. He yelled at people for mistakes he caused. And he always pretended he understood technology, even though he barely knew how to restart his own computer. Still, I worked hard. I was the one who created the company's new security system, the one with multi-layer encryption, hidden backup locks, and a master password only I knew. It was meant to protect us from cyber attacks, not from the people inside the company. The story started the morning Adrian called me into his office. His face was stiff, like he'd swallowed a lemon. "George," he said, not looking up from his laptop, "we've decided to remove your admin access. You've been too involved in things you shouldn't be." My heart dropped. Too involved? I only did my job. He slid a paper across the desk. "Sign it. Today you return to basic staff permissions." I stared at the paper, then at him. He had no idea what he had just done. And he had no idea that I was the only one who knew the master password that controlled everything. When I stepped out of his office, my hands were shaking, not because I was scared, but because I knew something was very wrong. Removing my access wasn't a random decision. Someone pushed him to do it, and I already had one suspect. Vivian, his assistant. Vivian acted sweet around the bosses, but everyone knew she played both sides. She smiled with her lips, but never with her eyes. She always lingered when Adrian talked to me, and sometimes I caught her staring at my screen like she wanted to steal something. When I returned to my desk, my account had already been downgraded. No admin panel. No server controls. No override options. It felt like someone had ripped away part of my mind. But here's the thing. They didn't know how the system truly worked. My access wasn't what kept it alive. The master password did. Without it, the company couldn't update its servers, restore backups, unlock encrypted vaults, or even pay employees at month's end. The system wasn't built to be controlled by many people. It was built to be controlled by one. Me. At noon, Adrian called a general meeting. He announced a new era in the company, a restructuring, a change in leadership. People clapped nervously. But as I watched him speak with that proud smile on his face, a cold feeling ran through my chest. Something big was coming. And somehow, I knew I was a target. The next day, things got worse. My projects were reassigned. My workstation was moved to a corner desk near the storage room. People whispered when I walked by. Even my teammates avoided eye contact. It was like they had been warned to stay away from me. At lunch, my friend Isaac slid into the seat across from me, keeping his voice low. "George, they're planning something." My stomach tightened. "Who?" "Adrian. And Vivian. I heard them talking last night. Something about a data opportunity. And you being a problem that needs to be removed completely." I froze. "Removed completely?" Isaac continued, "I don't know the details, but it sounded bad. Like illegal bad." That night, after everyone left, I stayed behind. I pretended I forgot my backpack, but really, I needed to check the server logs. Even without admin access, I could still view basic activity. What I saw made my blood run cold. Large files being copied at 2:47 a.m. Same files at 3:10 a.m. Then again at 3:19 a.m. Financial archives, vendor contracts, payroll records. Someone was transferring high-value data, slowly, carefully, trying not to trip alarms. Except they forgot one thing. I built the system, and I knew every shadow, every heartbeat, every secret corner. As I logged out, one thought hit me harder than anything. If Adrian and Vivian were stealing data, my removal wasn't punishment. It was a cover-up. The next morning, chaos hit the office like a storm. The accounting department couldn't access payroll. The legal team couldn't open contract files. And the CEO himself couldn't retrieve his encrypted documents. Everything was locked. Adrian stormed out his office, yelling orders. "Fix it. Somebody fix it." Who still has access? Nobody answered, because the truth was simple. Only one person could fix it, the person he removed yesterday. Me. I sat at my corner desk, quietly sipping water, watching the panic spread. People ran back and forth, whispering, typing, failing. Then Adrian turned to me, his voice sharp. "George, come with me." I followed him to his office. He shut the door too hard. "What is going on with the system?" he demanded. I shrugged. "I wouldn't know. You removed my access." His jaw twitched. "We need the master password." I kept my face calm, but inside, I was almost shaking from the power of the moment. "I never shared it with anyone," I said softly. His eyes widened in fear. Behind him, Vivian appeared at the doorway. Her face was white. She knew what this meant. Without the password, their little data opportunity plan couldn't continue. And worse, they couldn't cover their tracks. "George," Adrian said, lowering his voice, "we need to talk." But all I could think was, now they finally understand the mistake they made. They led me into the conference room, the one they use for top-secret meetings. Adrian shut the blinds. Vivian locked the door. That alone told me the meeting wasn't official. "George," Adrian said, forcing a smile that looked painful, "we just want to understand your system better. So you can fix the mess you made?" I asked calmly. Vivian glared, but Adrian raised a hand to silence her. "Let's not play games. We know you're the only one who knows the master password. And whose fault is that?" I asked. Silence. Vivian finally spoke, her voice tight. "Give us the password, and your job will be safe." "Safe? My job? After everything they'd done?" "No," I said simply. Adrian's expression cracked. "Do you understand the damage this can cause?" "I understand it better than you," I replied, "because I made the system, and I warned you not to mess with access levels." Vivian stepped closer. "George, listen." "I'm done listening," I said. Both of them froze. I leaned back in my chair, letting my words sink in. "Tell me why my access was removed. Tell me why files are being copied at 3 a.m. Tell me what you two are hiding." Their faces drained of color. For the first time, they knew I wasn't a quiet tech guy anymore. I was the one person who could expose everything. And they had no idea. I was just getting started. I left the conference room without giving them a single answer. Their eyes followed me the whole way, burning with anger and fear. The moment I stepped back into the open office, I felt dozens of stares. People knew something was happening, but nobody dared ask. I sat at my desk and pretended to work, but inside, my mind was racing. If I stayed passive, Adrian and Vivian would pin everything on me. If I acted too fast, they'd know I was on to them. So I watched. I watched them whisper in hallways. I watched Vivian sneak into the server room and come out looking frustrated. I watched Adrian call the IT consultant, who shook his head and left in less than 5 minutes. Nobody could break into the system. At 4 p.m., Isaac came to my desk with a sealed envelope. "This was left in the mail room for you," he whispered. Inside was a printed screenshot, a transfer log. 10 files moved into an external drive. Each file were thousands in confidential data. Timestamp, 3:19 a.m. User, A. Collins Adrian. My heart pounded. Someone inside the company was trying to help me. Someone wanted me to fight back. That night, I stayed after hours again. When the building emptied, I opened the secret admin panel, the one even my boss didn't know existed. Then I pulled up the system trap I designed months ago, a trap made for thieves. Now it was time to use it. The trap was simple but powerful. A hidden lock that activates when someone tries to steal or alter high-value data. It shuts down everything connected to the user and records every illegal action in an encrypted vault only I can open. I activated it quietly. The next morning, the office buzzed with panic again, this time louder, sharper, more desperate. The system refused to accept any external devices. Even printing was disabled. Every time someone tried to export a document, the screen flashed red. Adrian burst into the room and slammed a folder onto my desk. "George, fix this." I opened the folder. Inside were lists of locked files, hundreds of them, all marked unauthorized activity detected. Something triggered the system lock. I said calmly, "You mean you triggered it?" he shouted. I raised an eyebrow. "If I triggered it, why am I locked out too?" He froze. I could see the realization hit him. My access level was too low to activate anything. Vivian stormed over. "Is the system broken or not?" "It's not broken," I replied. "It's protecting itself." And then I saw it. A tiny flash of guilt in Vivian's eyes. She knew she had attempted something, and she knew the system caught her. Isaac approached me later. "George, rumor is the CEO is flying in tomorrow. Something big is happening." I nodded slowly, because I wasn't the only one preparing. The whole company was about to face the truth, and this time, I wasn't going to protect Adrian anymore. That night, I decided to dig deeper. I pulled out a portable monitor and connected it to my hidden admin port under my desk. The screen lit up instantly. A wave of red warnings covered the dashboard, evidence of failed break-in attempts. At exactly 2:41 a.m., someone had tried to override the encryption. At 2:43 a.m., someone tried again using a fake identity. At 2:46 a.m., someone attempted a full system breach. Every attempt came from the same device, Vivian's laptop, but there was something worse. At 3 a.m., someone else tried to access the financial vault. That try came from Adrian's office. This wasn't small corruption. This was a full data heist. And I finally saw their goal. They were stealing company secrets to sell to a competitor, and they were going to blame the breach on me. But my system saved every log, every attempt, every failure, every lie, all locked inside a vault only I could open. I leaned back in my chair, the truth burning in my chest. Tomorrow, the CEO would arrive, and Adrian and Vivian would finally realize they trapped themselves. But I wasn't done yet. I created a new file with every secret recorded. Then I sent it to a secure cloud account with one label, to be opened at the right moment. Tomorrow would be that moment. The CEO arrived earlier than expected. I knew the exact time because the entire building froze when he walked in, Mr. Harold Bennett, the man who almost never visited this branch. He wasn't smiling. He went straight into the conference room with the senior managers, except Adrian wasn't called, and neither was Vivian. That alone told me the truth. The board already knew something. At 11 a.m., I received a message. "Report to conference room A immediately." My heart pounded as I walked inside. The CEO sat at the head of the long table. His voice was firm but calm. "George, we received disturbing information about unauthorized data activity. You were removed from admin access, yet the system remains locked. We want to hear from you directly." This was it. I took a breath. "Sir, the system isn't locked because of me. It's locked because someone attempted a data heist." Gasps, eyes widening, chairs shifting. I pulled out the printed logs, the ones showing Adrian's and Vivian's attempts. I placed them gently on the table. "These are authentication failures from last night, and these show financial vault access attempts at early hours. Not by me, but by senior staff." The CEO leaned forward. "Who?" I slid 2 papers closer, one with A. Collins, one with V. Hart. The room exploded into whispers. The CEO's face turned cold. "Bring them in," he ordered. My chest tightened, because the next few minutes would decide everything. Adrian and Vivian walked into the conference room trying to look confident, but their faces were too pale. The CEO didn't waste time. "Is there something either of you like to tell us?" he asked. Vivian swallowed hard. Adrian forced a laugh. "Sir, this is ridiculous. George is trying to—" I placed a USB on the table. "One file," I said softly, "recorded by the System Security Core." The CEO nodded at me. "Play it." I connected it to the screen. The recording played, footage from the server room at 2:41 a.m. The camera captured a figure typing on a laptop. Zoom in. Vivian. Her face was clear as day. She gasped and covered her mouth. Then I opened the next log, Adrian's office door at 3 a.m. He slipped inside carrying an external drive. Zoom in, his face frozen in fear on the screen. The room went silent. The CEO stood up slowly. "You removed the one person who protected this company," he said, "and you tried to sell our data." Security guards stepped inside. Vivian burst into tears. Adrian stepped back like he was dizzy, but I wasn't watching them. I was watching the CEO's eyes when he looked at me, because I knew this was only the beginning of their downfall. Adrian and Vivian were escorted out of the room. I could hear their protests fading down the hallway, but the tension in the conference room didn't vanish immediately. The CEO's gaze stayed fixed on me. "George," he said slowly, "we need to know everything you saw. Every file, every log, every suspicious activity." I nodded. "Sir, everything is saved on the system. I've created a secure vault with encrypted copies of all attempted breaches. Every file, every timestamp, every external device used, everything." He leaned back, studying me carefully. "And the system, it wouldn't have allowed anyone else to access it?" "No, sir. Only I have the master password. I designed it that way intentionally." The CFO, who had been silent until now, spoke. "So all of this, Adrian and Vivian trying to steal files, the payroll, the contracts, it's completely documented?" I pulled out the printouts. "Yes, and it's all time-stamped, encrypted, and backed up to cloud account." The CEO nodded. "Good. That is the kind of control we need in leadership. Someone who thinks ahead. Someone who protects the company, even when others fail." I felt a thrill. This was more than recognition. This was power. Clean, calculated, and earned. The CEO paused. "George, we want to take over the IT department immediately. Full authority. Effective today." I swallowed hard. My chest tightened with adrenaline. They tried to remove me. They tried to ruin me. And now they were powerless. I was no longer the quiet tech guy. I was in control. Back at my desk, I finally allowed myself a moment to breathe. The office was quieter than usual. People whispered, cast glances at me, but no one dared approach. They all knew I had just turned the tables on Adrian and Vivian. Isaac came over, looking nervous but smiling. "George, that was incredible. Everyone's talking about it. They can't believe how you handled it." I nodded slowly. "It's not over yet. The system still has traces of their activity. I need to make sure they can never come back." I logged into the hidden admin panel again. My fingers moved over the keys confidently, reviewing the encrypted vaults. Every copy, every attempt, every misstep by Adrian and Vivian was there. The beauty of it? They had no clue I had set up automatic alerts. Any attempt to tamper further would notify me immediately. I created a final layer, a self-executing backup that could restore the entire company system in case anyone tried to sabotage it. That way, they would never have leverage again. By mid-afternoon, the CEO sent a memo. "George is now the head of IT. All departments will report to him regarding digital operations." I smiled faintly. That's when I noticed Adrian watching from the corner of the glass office. Fear, anger, helplessness. And I realized something. This wasn't just victory. It was transformation. Because now, I wasn't just protecting the company. I was becoming the person everyone had underestimated. And they would never forget it. That evening, I stayed late to review every server log. The office was empty, dim, silent except for the hum of machines. Adrian's and Vivian's attempts replayed in my mind. Every click, every unauthorized access, every whisper of greed. I chuckled softly. They thought they were clever. They thought they could manipulate, intimidate, and steal. But they underestimated me. Every move they made had been anticipated. Every hole in the system carefully watched. The master password wasn't just a code. It was a trap. I ran a final check. Every external device used by them had been blocked. Every login attempt flagged. An encrypted vault was untouchable. I leaned back, letting the tension drain. I allowed myself a small thrill, the kind that comes from knowing you won without spilling a drop of your own blood. Then I remembered something. Vivian wasn't finished. She still had access to a few of the internal terminals in the office. and she knew people in accounting, payroll, and contracts. I pulled up a map of internal network connections. Her connections were weak, uncoordinated. I could neutralize them with a single line of code. Tomorrow would be the final test. Tomorrow, I would clean the system of their influence completely. And for the first time, I allowed myself to imagine the fall of the people who thought they could control me. They had underestimated the quiet tech guy, and the quiet tech guy was done being quiet. The next morning, Adrian appeared at my office door. He looked different, defeated, hollow. Vivian was behind him, eyes downcast, lips pressed tight. I just want to talk, Adrian said, trying to regain authority. I looked up, calm and steady. There's nothing to talk about, Adrian. Everything you tried to steal, every file you tried to manipulate, it's already locked and recorded. He paled. You don't understand. We can fix this. We can... No, I interrupted. You can't. You made your choice. Vivian tried to interject. George, please. I raised a hand. Save it. You'll answer to the CEO and the board. I'm just making sure the system is clean. I turned back to my screen and ran the final sweep. Every connection they had was disabled. Every unauthorized account deleted. Every attempt logged and backed up. They couldn't touch a thing. Adrian's face twisted. You'll regret this. I smiled faintly. No, you'll regret it. You thought removing me would give you control. But control is earned, Adrian, not stolen. I watched them leave my office, dragging their shame behind them. For the first time in years, I felt a rush of freedom, because I knew that nothing, not greed, not deceit, not fear, could touch me now. The system was mine. The company was mine to protect. And Adrian and Vivian were powerless. By midweek, I had reorganized the IT department completely. All files were secure. All logs protected. All attempts to circumvent security were nullified. The employees who had whispered or followed Adrian's manipulations now looked to me with respect, awe, and some fear. Isaac came over. George, you're not just a tech guy anymore. You're the boss of the system. Everyone listens to you now. I nodded. I only want one thing: control over the system and fairness of the company. No one else. He smiled, uneasy but relieved. Fair enough. But what about Adrian and Vivian? I leaned back. They're done. Completely. The CEO has the logs. The board knows everything. They have no power. And the system will never let them touch a thing again. A part of me felt satisfaction. Not revenge, not hatred. Just a calm clarity that comes from knowing justice has been served. Later, I walked through the office. People smiled awkwardly. Some whispered. Everyone had learned a lesson. Don't underestimate the quiet one. I stopped by the window, looking at the city skyline. The sun reflected on the glass buildings like it was signaling a new beginning. And I realized something important. I wasn't the same George anymore. I had grown, learned, and transformed. The person who had been invisible, powerless, overlooked, was now the one who controlled everything. I returned to the office the next morning expecting chaos. But what I saw was worse. Workers were arguing, printers were spitting error codes, and someone was shouting from the server room. The entire place looked like a storm had passed through. But the moment I entered, everyone went silent. People stared at me like I was a firefighter entering a burning building. George, the system rejected the backup passwords again, Mia whispered as she walked up to me. They tried 10 times. Nothing worked. I nodded calmly. I already knew it wouldn't work. The board themselves didn't have the second layer keys. Where's Mr. Clark? I asked. In his office, destroying things. Good. I walked toward his door slowly. Before I could knock, I heard something crash inside. A mug? A chair? Maybe his pride. I pushed the door open. He spun around and pointed at me. You did this. No, I said softly. You did this the moment you locked me out. His face twisted with panic. The board is on their way. They think I'm covering up the system failure. They're threatening to involve investigators. And what will you tell them? I asked. That you fire the only person who could unlock their financial gateway? He swallowed hard. For the first time ever, I saw fear, real fear, in his eyes. And that was only the beginning. 10 minutes later, the board arrived, for members, all looking stressed and impatient. Mr. Clark ran to them like a drowning man grabbing anything he could hold. "Please listen," he said shakily. "There was a misunderstanding." They brushed past him and turned to me. "George," Mrs. Dawson said firmly, "we were told you created the encrypted system and structured the security layers." "Yes," I replied. "And is it true," she continued, "that you alone control the master password?" Mr. Clark jumped in. "No, he's lying. He sabotaged everything. I didn't even look at him. The system is secure, but when access is removed improperly, it locks itself for protection." "So, can you restore it?" one of the board men asked. "Yes," I said, "but I need written approval. From the board, not the CEO." The room went still. Mr. Clark's mouth fell open. "You're going to let him take over? He's manipulating you." But the board wasn't listening to him anymore. They were focused on me, the calmest person in the room. Mrs. Dawson stepped forward. "Prepare the recovery protocol, George, and report directly to us from now on." I saw it. The exact moment Mr. Clark realized he had lost control completely. He spun toward me, eyes furious. "You won't get away with this." I leaned closer. "You removed my access without thinking. But you forgot something." His chest tightened. "I built the system. I know every door you're trying to break." As the board followed me to the server room, whispers spread across the office like wildfire. Employees peeked from their cubicles, watching the moment everything flipped. I walked ahead, steady and confident, while Mr. Clark trailed behind us, sweating so hard his shirt clung to his back. When we entered the server corridor, the blinking lights reflected on the walls like a sci-fi movie scene. The board waited behind me as I knelt in front of the main console. Mr. Clark stood farther away, pacing like a trapped animal. I plugged in the master key drive I created months ago. The screen lit up. "Enter primary passcode." My fingers hovered above the keyboard. "George," Mrs. Dawson said quietly, "before you proceed, we need to know, is the company safe?" I looked up at her. "It will be, if the right people handle it." "Behind me," Mr. Clark scoffed. "Oh, please. He's bluffing. He can't restore anything." I typed the first code. The console beeped. A green bar appeared. "Access level 1. Restored." Gasps filled the room. I typed the second code. Another beep. "Access level 2. Restored." Mr. Clark froze. I slowly turned toward him. "You removed me because you want to control," I said, my voice steady. "But you never understood the system you were trying to own." Then I typed the final sequence. The entire wall of servers flickered back to life. Every number, every record, every file, restored. His reign was officially over. The moment the system came back online, the board members sighed in relief. Deep, shaky relief that came from surviving a disaster they didn't even know was bigger than they imagined. But Mr. Clark wasn't relieved. He was terrified. "Why, you didn't tell them everything," he stammered. "You're hiding something, George." "I know it." I stood up from the console and dusted off my hands. "There's nothing to hide, unless you know something we don't." His eyes twitched. The board members exchanged looks. Mrs. Dawson stepped forward. "What exactly is he referring to?" I turned to her calmly. "When Mr. Clark removed my access, he also tried to override the financial logs. He failed, but the attempted breach is recorded." The board stiffened instantly. "What breach?" one of them demanded. Mr. Clark threw his hands up. "He's framing me. I was trying to protect the system." "You were trying to hide something," I corrected quietly. "Something big enough to risk shutting down the entire company." The board's faces hardened. "George," Mrs. Dawson said, "run the activity report." I typed quickly, and the system projected the log onto the widescreen. Unauthorized entry, code tampering, data export attempts, all under Mr. Clark's ID. The silence hit like thunder. He froze in place, his lies suffocating him. Is there anything you'd like to explain? Mrs. Dawson asked. Mr. Clark backed away slowly. For the first time, he had nowhere left to run. Security was called. Not the regular office guards, the corporate investigation unit. They entered quietly, wearing dark suits, moving with calm authority. Mr. Clark panicked the moment he saw them. This is a mistake. I made one error. One. You can't just drag me out. I built this company. No, Mrs. Dawson said coldly. People like George built this company. You only tried to control it. He lunged toward her, desperate. You can't believe him over me. I'm the CO. Not anymore, she replied. Effective immediately, you are suspended pending full investigation. His knees almost buckled. I thought he would attack someone, but instead, he pointed at me with trembling hands. You set me up, George. You planned this. I stepped closer until we were just inches apart. No, I warned you not to touch what you didn't understand. You locked me out. You triggered the locks. You exposed yourself. The investigators handcuffed him gently but firmly. He screamed, You're nothing without me. Nothing. The board looked at me. He restored the company. One whispered. He saved us, another added. But I didn't smile. Not yet, because this wasn't victory. This was only the storm clearing. And the real truth was just beginning to show. As they pulled Mr. Clark toward the elevator, he twisted back with a wild expression. You think this ends here, George? You don't know what's inside that system. I did. And soon, they would too. After Mr. Clark was removed, the board followed me to the conference room for a full briefing. The atmosphere was tighter now, heavier, because everyone finally understood the stakes. But they didn't know everything. Not yet. I placed my laptop on the long glass table and connected it to the screen. Before I revealed the final part, I began, I need everyone to sit down. They obeyed instantly. There's something deeper in the logs, I said, something Mr. Clark tried to erase. The board leaned forward, eyes tense. I opened a hidden folder, one that only I knew existed, and projected it. A series of transactions appeared. Massive transactions. Unauthorized. Unapproved. Spread over months. Millions. Mrs. Dawson gasped. My God, this is corporate theft. Yes, I said. Mr. Clark siphoned funds into offshore accounts. Small amount at a time, so they looked harmless. But when combined, I clicked another file. A total number appeared. $42 million. The room went silent. One of the board members stood up slowly. This is prison time. It's worse, I added. He wasn't working alone. They all looked at me sharply. I tapped one more key. A second name appeared under the hidden access log, and the room exploded in shock. Because the name wasn't an employee. It wasn't a manager. It wasn't even someone in the company. No, it was someone much higher. Someone who shouldn't have been anywhere near the system. Someone who changed everything. The name on the screen made everyone freeze. It wasn't Adrian. It wasn't Vivian. It wasn't even anyone in the office. It was a founder's cousin, Victor Lang, a man nobody had met, but whose signature had appeared on several high-level approvals. And now the log showed he had tried to siphon funds alongside Clark. The board erupted into whispers. Mrs. Dawson slammed her hand on the table. This goes beyond incompetence. This is criminal. I stayed calm. I had anticipated this. I had copies of every hidden transfer, every attempted override, every encrypted record. Victor's account is tied to several shell companies overseas, I said, and Clark tried to cover his tracks. But the system saved every attempt. I can recover all stolen funds and secure the accounts permanently. The board stared disbelief on their faces. They had been blind until now. Then I looked at Adrian's empty office. He'd already been escorted to investigators. Vivian was outside, sobbing. The power dynamic had shifted entirely. I closed the laptop. The company is safe. But it needs one thing: leadership that understands the system and people who won't try to steal from it. The CEO nodded slowly. You mean you? I smiled faintly, the weight of control finally settling on my shoulders. For years, I had been underestimated. Now I was untouchable. And the best part? I hadn't even begun to implement the next part of my plan. The next week, I reorganized the IT department completely. Unauthorized users were blocked, backdoors were sealed, and every file was under double encryption. Every employee knew the system belonged to someone who could not be bypassed. Isaac whispered, "George, you've changed everything. Nobody can touch the company now." I nodded. But this was more than security. It was justice. Adrian had tried to remove me, thinking power was all about control. But he didn't understand strategy. I reviewed the final logs. Every attempt to steal money, alter contracts, or bypass systems was documented. I flagged every trace to the CEO and board for permanent action. Then I sent copies of the incriminating files to secure government channels, just in case Clark or Lang tried to fight back. For the first time, I felt calm. My hands hovered over the keyboard, but I no longer needed them. I had created something permanent, a system that protected the company and ensured that no one could exploit it again. The office buzzed with nervous energy. People looked at me differently now. Respect, fear, admiration. They finally realized the quiet tech guy wasn't just a helper. He was the one who controlled the backbone of the entire organization. And I liked it, because now I was unstoppable. On Friday, the CEO called an emergency board meeting. This time, Adrian and Vivian weren't invited. Clark had been formally suspended, and the files had been reviewed. "George," the CEO said, "we want to formally appoint you as head of IT and system security. You will oversee all digital operations directly, and no one can bypass your authority without board approval." I kept my voice calm. "Sir, the system isn't just about control. It's about protection. I will ensure no one can manipulate it again, internally or externally." The board approved unanimously. My promotion wasn't just recognition, it was power. And for the first time, I truly felt the shift from observer to master. Adrian and Vivian would face consequences. Clark would face investigation. And Victor Lang? The moment the authorities acted on the records, his network would collapse. I walked through the office afterward. Employees stopped me to thank me or nod silently. I smiled faintly. The quiet tech guy had transformed into a guardian. And as I reached my office, I looked out the window. The city glimmered, unaware of the storm that had passed and the force that now commanded it. Control, security, justice, all in one. The company wasn't just safe, it was mine to protect. Weeks later, the dust had settled. Adrian and Vivian were gone. Clark was under investigation. Victor Lang's offshore network was frozen. The system was secure beyond anyone's imagination. I sat at my office desk, reviewing server logs for the 100th time, but this time with a sense of calm. Every corner of the company was under control, every record accounted for, every loophole sealed. Employees whisper my name in the hallways. Respect, admiration, even fear. I didn't need recognition. I had earned something far better: trust, control, and the satisfaction of outsmarting those who underestimated me. From the day my access was removed, they thought they had power. But they didn't know the one rule I always lived by. The person who built the system always holds the keys. And I did. I leaned back in my chair. The city lights reflected in the glass like gold, a reminder of everything I had protected and achieved. I had been the quiet tech guy, the one everyone ignored. But now, I wasn't quiet anymore. I wasn't powerless. I wasn't invisible. I was George, the mastermind, the protector, the one who held the password to everything. And anyone who tried to take it from me would learn the hard way. The system was mine. The company was mine. And I had risen higher than anyone could have imagined